Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Bhavidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमो नित्यं भद्रकायै नमो नमः। वेद वेदांग वेदांत विद्यास्थानेभ्य एव च सरस्वती महाभागे विद्ये कमललोचने विद्यारूपे विशालाक्षी विद्यां देहि नमोऽस्तुते। यदक्षरं पदं भ्रष्टं मात्राहीनं च यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देवि प्रसीद परमेश्वरी। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। The last class we saw, one says that Veshahanataha, if we have to give up or remove this Vesha, whatever gross and subtle conditionings, gross and subtle conditionings of who we are, what we are attached with is the body, is the prana, is the mind, isn't it? That constantly we are identified with. These are nothing but conditionings or layers on the self. That is not the true self. Because these are constantly changing and they are all born sometime, created sometime, sustained for some time for to achieve a certain purpose and then is destroyed. So when you remove all of these conditions of the self, then what is left? And there is that left. There is that awareness left. There is that sense of I, which is the real I. Bhagavan says that is of the nature of existence consciousness. That vision of self, when that realization happens, he says that is the vision of God, that is God realization. So self-realization is equal to God realization. That is Swatma Rupataha. Isha Darshanam is Swatma Rupataha. They are not different from each other. So if someone says, I have realized God, huh? When did that happen? It happened as soon as I woke up in the morning. I had darshan. Acha, and what were you? Where were you? I was at his lotus feet and he was up there. And I couldn't see from where he started, where he ended. It was a beautiful sight. It was a beautiful aura he had. As long as one was describing and one was talking of, the sense of duality is there, no? So you as a body, as a mind, as a what you feel and you are seeing, and that is an object, that God is an object of your vision. As long as that remains, many people went to him, Bhagavan Ramana, and they would tell him that this is the vision. I have conversations with Bhagavan, with Krishna. It's in fact by there is another disciples, devotee student, whatever you can say, because he is popularly known as Papaji. Papaji has also mentioned this, that he used to have conversations with Krishna Bhagavan constantly. And for a period after that, it all stopped. There was no conversation. So he got a little worried and he was wondering, where am I going wrong in my sadhana? Why is Krishna Bhagavan not talking to me anymore? So many saints go through that. This is why Atma Jnana is necessary also. He sought many masters, went to them and told him. So all of them kept telling him, this happens, you have to start practicing your sadhana again. Do that, and then you will begin to hear Bhagavan again. And somewhere, Babaji says, I was not convinced about this. I was still looking for an answer. I didn't have an answer, but I was not convinced with these people's answers until he came to Ramana. When he sat with Ramana, he realized that this is the state that one is to come to. There is no more hallucination about God, imagination about God, no conversation. You have come to that state where all the activities of the mind has ended, and the knowing that arises simply on its own because you're of the nature of that awareness, you are of the nature of consciousness. In that, there is no thought. Since there is no thought, there is no thought of how is God, He is all powerful, I am with very little power. That duality itself is not. Whether little power or more power, but that is imagination of thought, isn't it? It's a thought, isn't it? It could be factual thought, it could be an imagination. It could be hope, it could be despair, whatever you want, whichever quality you want. But it's a thought. Yes. That thought was no longer there. So this is Swatma Darshan. There is no thought arising. So how are you? You are just blank. There is no need to think of anything. There is no attachment towards anything. There is nothing to be done. Yet it just arises on its own, whatever needs to be done. It's not that people who have come to this state of realization don't do anything anymore. They say they don't do anything because most of us do. When we do even that part of thinking, it is like an action from the ego that I need to do this. This is my duty. This is my responsibility. but for the realized master, just arises on its own, the way existence wants it, not because there is a personality within it says, I want it. So, this is the beauty, this state one must arrive, and this is what he says is the whole spiritual journey. Now, in the 26th verse, see what we will do is I will just read all the verses 26 because today I think we can conclude this text 26 to the 30th. Only 30 verses are there. I will read it and we will take a meaning of the verses backwards because that itself is a very good way of again reinforcing the whole idea. आत्मसंस्थितिः स्वात्मदर्शनम् आत्मनिर्भयात्मनिष्ठता ज्ञानवर्जिता ज्ञानहीनचित् ज्ञानमस्ति किं ज्ञातुमन्तरम् किं स्वरूपमेत्यात्मदर्शने अव्यया भवापूर्णचित् सुखम् बन्धमुक्त्यतीतं परं सुखम् विन्दतीह जीवस्तुदैविकः अहमेककं निजविधानकं महदिदं तपो रमणवाक्यम्. In the last verse, you'll be wondering why I'm going this way. No big deal. Okay. We can even read it exactly the way we were going. But I just realized if we start this way, there is just another reinforcement of the whole idea. Very beautiful. Suppose we take the 30th verse to be our first verse for today. What does he say? He says, the self-inquiry, devoid of ego. Aham, ego, ahankara. Apetakam, that is devoid of it. Vajjita, without that, without our ego. Nija vibhanakam. This revealer of the sense, that means this inquiry that we do, no? Idam, mahad idam tapaha. He says this is the greatest tapas. What is this self-inquiry? Ramana Vadya, that is Ramana Vakayam. Ramana says this. What does he say? This inquiry into the self is the greatest penance. And this one must undertake. Ramana has always said this. Anything else that has to happen in life will anyway happen because this jiva is born into this body is already a result of previous karmas. So whatever that has to happen with this body is going to happen anyway. Because our script, this life script, is already given. These many years we have to live, this much health issues, this much whatever mental issues, all of this is going to be there. This much sukham is also going to be there. Because that's what we have come to experience. This whole lifetime is about that. So while we are going through this experience of prarabdha, whatever we have done, we are going to go through, what can we do in the meanwhile? And that is what Vedanta also tells us, study of Vedanta. What does it tell? This is anyway, all our vasanas are going to play out now. While we are living that and experiencing whatever that prarabdha is, It's unfolding all the time. In the meantime, what can we do? We can see that we do not collect more vasanas. Free ourselves. That is the only karma. And when will that happen? Only when one is interested in who am I. Otherwise, oh, today I got to see this, tomorrow I want another experience, I want a greater experience. I went to this holiday was a beautiful experience, but my neighbor went to another place and he said that is even greater. So next year I'm planning to go there. I have a car, my neighbor has a car which is 1 inch bigger. Now I'm planning to get that. So I have to work towards that. Do what I may, struggle and get it. And this is the thing I am constantly, life of transmigration, going on seeking something outside of me. But if I begin with the self-inquiry, who am I? Then this is the greatest purpose, not only penance, this is the way one should be. Having born in the human body only do you get this opportunity. This is what Ramana says. And why should you do that self-inquiry if we go to the 29th verse? What he says is, here in this world, here, some rare individual with divine qualities get supreme happiness which is beyond bondage and liberation. Bandha Mukti. What is Bandhana? Bandhana, bondage, and Mukti, freedom. And beyond this, Aditam, there is a Param Sukham. There is a bliss which does not know the difference between, there is no difference because there is no bondage and there is no freedom in that state. Bondage and freedom is for whom? The jiva, the ahankari, who thinks he is now bound, he is bound with something or the other. Therefore, he is seeking liberation. Here he says, this supreme param sukham, here one jiva, indeed with daivika qualities, divine qualities, he vindati, he gains. So you're saying, why coming on the 30th verse? Self-inquiry is the biggest one. Why self-inquiry? Why one must inquire into it? Also, this comes to rare individuals. Most of the people are completely lost, and they may be good people also who, with good intention, want to live a good life. They are praying to God, they are God fearing, they do actions according to Shastra's Dharma, that is wonderful. Yet they are in that state of duality. Even worshipping God is for the reason of gaining something, for my own pleasure, the individual pleasure, without realizing, when I was a child, what was pleasure for me? Getting my favorite toy, I could play games, and we think we have grown when we are 40 and 50. The children are, oh, all they want is one toy. They don't know we have bigger responsibilities. But even you are running a few Niraj. Your toy is something bigger. You are looking also for a vacation. They are trying to go to school and they want a vacation. You are trying to go to office and you want a vacation. Nobody is happy with the job they are doing. Whatever role they are playing, they are not really happy. The housewife always thinks somebody who is outside is enjoying. The one who is going outside to earn thinks that this housewife is enjoying because she is sitting at home doing nothing. I have to go out and work. So everyone is lost in this, in a mirage. And everyone is running after this mirage. The farmer thinks the one working in the office is better. The one working in the office is saying, "Arey, that farmer is so independent. He doesn't have to bother about all these office politics. He just does alone. He has his difficulties, but you know." So you see in the world all over, where each one is, they are not happy there, and they are only looking at the grass is greener on the other side. That one is happy. Constantly trying to fulfill them. This is what he says, Balas Thavat Krida Sattana, Tarunas Thavat. So there is always some asakti. We are constantly attached to something. So let's not think that that 60-year-old is more mature or better off than the 6-year-old. Both are running after mirages. The only thing that we could do, and if at all we take it up, is this self-inquiry. So one has not reached maturity until one has not asked these, is not asking these questions. They may be a very successful kind of people. They may be very famous, they may be very rich in the world, but are not mature of mind until they have not asked this question and are not seeking. That is why when we begin on the spiritual path, we are told we are privileged to be walking this path. And burn the bridges behind you. Don't ever walk back to that world, which is just unintelligently going round and round and round and round in circles. They may be powerful people, they may be influential people, they may be, like I said, no successful. But they are all constantly being pushed by their own natures to achieve something which is like pursuit of a mirage. Until one has not really come into questioning this whole business that's going on. Otherwise, we fall a prey, to that system. So one person arises, hey, what is all this? Do I need to participate in all of this? And he is not liked, let me tell you, by people. And who are you to question? We have all been doing it. Our forefathers have been doing it. Why are you questioning this? Because there is a sense of insecurity. People like to belong to a group of people. Clan gives them that security. So when you are conforming to everybody does that, even we want to do it. So then they help you also. Aren't you trying in this college? Aren't you trying for this admission? Aren't you going abroad? Like a herd, everyone has to be doing that thing. And everyone will help each other. It requires one clear, intelligent, mature sensibility to open up and say, do I need to do this? Must have the courage also to break free from that clan and stand alone. So it's very challenging. And when they do that, people they don't like them. Because what people don't know, they hate. Because if I don't know something, it makes me insecure. Then I don't like that person. So they will say, what is this all required? And after you have made some progress, they will say, wow, how did you do it? The same fellows. So these are divine qualities he calls. Daivic qualities. Because why? If there is something, reality, truth that we want, it is most creative, it is most intelligent. So you require a sharp intelligence to get into this kind of questioning. Dull people are the ones who will form clans and who are ready to conform. Now, does that mean that this realized person will never conform to anything? He knows what he has to do. Group of people have come together and decided that when the signal is red, all cars will stop. He will follow that route. He's not going to say, I don't care for this, I'm going. That's stupidity. So certain norms for community living. We have come together. We have decided he will also follow. But certain other norms of thinking, which is not going to lead you anywhere, because it is put up by ignorance and wrong thinking, he is not going to say, okay, everyone, every individual must be this way. Then there is no problem in society. Most of us are ignorant of this. So, this divine quality of being able to see that where are all these people headed? Where am I headed? Is this the purpose of my life? If we can begin to think this way and inquire into the self, who am I and where am I going? First of all, you need to know this. Without knowing this, we are simply assuming we need to do so many things. And we are getting caught up. So he says, this is Mahat Papa. Inquire into the self, and one with divine qualities who inquires into it, what does he find? He is free from all duality. This ego that has created this bondage and freedom, the need for freedom, he becomes free. Then he says, what is this inquiry? King Swarupamitya, this is the 28th verse. What is my nature? Kim Swarupamiti, thus inquiring, what is my nature? Atma Darshane, on self-realization. What does he find? Atma Darshane, he finds, oh, I am Avyaya, Abhava, Apurna, Chit, Sukam. I am Avyaya, undecaying. There is no decay for me. There is no destruction for me. I am Abhava, unborn. So I am not born. I am not becoming anything either. There is no question. I am Apur, complete. There is no question of lack only. There is a question of complete also. Why do we say, I don't have the sense of fulfillment? Because there is something lacking already. This person may not say sense of completeness because I don't lack anything. I'm not. तो क्या नहीं था? सब कुछ तो है. This way. Constantly in the state of full, all complete consciousness, chit sukham and bliss. Bhagavan Krishna says there is that state where even, forget about an iota of sorrow, great sorrow that we speak about, calamities that we speak about, doesn't touch you. Doesn't touch your means this person has become so insensitive. No. That realization has come that all this great sorrow is an imagination. It's a byproduct of your mind. In this state here, there is only consciousness, bliss, awareness known, and no thought arising. That thought contains happiness or sorrow. In consciousness. Therefore, this bliss. He recognizes, realizes his state to be like this. In this, no, we are constantly, because we are in the mental realm, so to speak, we are all constantly obsessed with our own thinking, our mind. This mind cannot know itself. It requires awareness which can illumine this mind. But we are struck, we are not bothering about how this mind itself is illumined, but we are so caught up in the mind. That is why we are living in this plane. What each one said, what the other said, what I see from the other, it is only external. It is just leaking out through the senses and catching those experiences, taking those experiences to be true, creating its own story in the mind. I did so much good for these people. What did they do? They insulted me. I did all this for these people. Now they are showering me with garlands. So I'm so happy. This is such a wonderful. So all the time, the mind is engaging through the senses, learning about the world outside. So what I got, what I didn't get. So if I got all I wanted, I call myself successful. If I didn't get what I wanted, oh, God has been very mean. क्या पाप मैंने किया है लास्ट जन्म में मालूम नहीं मेरे को कुछ नहीं मिल रहा है हासिल नहीं हो रहा है. All this tamasha, this gymnastics is going on. Play. Mental gymnastics, mental wrestling. I, ahankar, with my mind. Most of our lifetime is passed here in this state, isn't it? Me and my mind. Me and what I think. We are obsessed with this. When we are so busy thinking, life is already passing through, moment to moment, moment to moment, creating. We have never become aware of this. We don't shut our mind. In fact, Gurudev Chinmaya says, shut up and get out. You want peace? Shut up and get out. Whom is he referring to? Ego only. Ego, shut up, get out. Everything is peaceful. Small. It seems so easy. Huh? But when that sense of doership, when that sense of knowership is there, you just go and tell it, hey, just shut up. That person won't like it. Here I am. Huh? I'm suffering. And look at this teacher. Hey, shut up. What kind of a teacher? Is this a compassionate teacher? Urgency is to get out of that. Just shut up. That is the solution. But you say shut up. Can the teacher talk like this? Isn't there a gentle, polite way of saying keep quiet or something? Does she have to be so harsh and say shut up? No manners? Again, that mind only. Push the patient बोलते हैं ना. हमारे आचार्य मुझसे push the patient वही वही बात को लेके वही अच्छा अरे उससे हट जाओ एक मोमेंट के लिए चुप बैठो अच्छा कुछ और solution दे. It is easy for you to say you know, right? I'm talking of normal people. They feel like this. So I am abnormal. Why do you come to abnormal people for very normal problems? No, Acharya. What I'm trying to tell you, not. In your world, it is like this. In the real world, no. Am I living in some unreal world? But sometimes I don't feel like that. No. Unreal problems को लेके दिमाग में अपने learn to drop it. I want peace. This is a very famous Ramana quote. Somebody went to him saying, I want peace. Ramana said, you do one thing. This I is there, no? You drop it. If that I goes away, I want, no, that want will go away with it, with that I itself. What remains is peace. Exactly what you get out. Shut up and get out. Easily said then. Until you don't inquire and until we don't have this understanding and this conviction within ourselves, it is very difficult. So who has to do it? We have to do it. We have to let us understand this, deeply understand. So well understood that it cannot be another way. So it has become my conviction that my ego, my attachment with an idea, is giving me this problem. If this is seen, life becomes very simple. And then you realize, Abba, how I'm complicating it with so much thinking. This is right thinking, not overthinking. Overthinking will only give you anxiety. Thinking in the right direction is required. And catching yourself when you are going in the wrong direction. Isn't it? So he says, this inquiry, who am I, is important. And when I look to that, what do I find? This aspect of being avyaya, abhava, apurna, of this nature of consciousness, of the nature of bliss, cannot leave me. And I can't go beyond that. There is nothing beyond that. That is the end. And that doesn't leave me. Wherever I am, whichever way I am, which means that is the truth of who I am. Dukkha nivritti happens totally. And this consciousness, now we come to the 27th verse. Jnana varjita jnanahina chitta. This consciousness is devoid of the thought of knowledge and the thought of ignorance also. Jnana varjita, devoid of thought, knowledge, and ajnana vrittihina chitta. It is also jnana varjita ajnanahina chitta, devoid of ignorance. What does this mean? When in the mind we are thinking about something, I'm aware of some object, happiness, or any object of the world, whether it is subtle or gross. The mind is constantly, I know about this or I don't know about this. I know there is this destination, I have this object, I want it. I don't know how to get it. Constantly, awareness of what is there, knowledge is there, or absence of it is there. Ignorance is there. Constant, isn't it? In the mind, it is always this duality is there. But in consciousness, both are not. Meaning, consciousness itself is always there. Absence of consciousness is never there. But thought, presence of thought is there. Absence of thought is also known. Absence of consciousness can never happen. So see, on two levels. Through the mind, there is object, lack of it, presence of it. Consciousness itself makes you aware of both these thoughts. And these are thoughts alone. But how is consciousness? Devoid of it, meaning there is no question. Of the presence or absence of consciousness. Consciousness alone illumines presence and objects, presence and absence of objects, or presence and absence of even thought. And it itself is all the time there, illuminating. This is how we say you are eternal, unborn. See, when somebody has deeply connected this way, there is the question of fear. Fear now, because we live in the mental plane, constant fear is there. I may lose something. If I have something, then I have to retain it, I have to work for it. But I am consciousness, always there and never going to go away. Then what happens to you? Just imagine with our brain only. There is the question of any sorrow. Where is the question of any hate? Where is the question of any insecurity? And what are you to fear about? Therefore, this inquiry is very important. Like, if we want to ever get out of misery, it is not about creating positive thought versus negative thought. And how long will you go on doing? After a point, you also get bored and can't be positive, be positive. No end to it. That is just, like I say, no, rearrangement of furniture in the home is not any transformation. इधर चेयर को यहाँ उठा के यहाँ रख दिया, यहाँ से वहां रख दिया, one day window view, one day garden view. That is not transformation. Hmm? So this think positive, change the way you are thinking, is rearrangement of furniture to be convenient at this point of time, to help go through. It has its own usefulness, no doubt. Okay, at any given point of time. But when constantly experiences like this come and all the time I have to tell myself, think positive, why am I going to the negative? Then what is beyond this? One has to really go to the root of the problem. When you go to the root of the problem, when you realize, positive, negative was nothing but object of the mind. But consciousness is there, which is constantly there, and I am that. If I were not there, that, how can I change? We say, no, you change the way you think. If that means you and the thought are different, that is why one is even unknowingly telling the other, you become positive, meaning you keep a positive idea, positive thought. Meaning you and that positive thought are different. Very often we speak like this, but we do not accept the fact that I am different from this thought. So this thought need not bind me. Who is illuminating? Who is stronger? Who is more powerful here? I am more powerful than the thought because I am illuminating the thought. How can I be bound by that thought? ऐसे thoughts दिमाग से हटा दो मैं से. मतलब I am different from that, ना? That is why I can do it. This we admit, but we don't go deeper into it and say, अरे मैं हटाने का तो कौन हूँ? अच्छा मैं अलग हूँ. I am different from that. इसके लिए हटा सकता हूँ. It's so simple. If you recognize this, your thoughts cannot control you. वहीं पे है. Clues are there when the problem arises. But it is not pursued completely. So pursue that. Come to recognize this, that this state consciousness, which is devoid, there is no thought in it that doesn't arise. And this jnana speaking jnatumantaram. Is there a knowledge other than consciousness to know the self? There is none. So again, the way he asks, this consciousness, how is it? It is self-effulgent, self-evident. This is Swayambhu. It is self-illuminating. This I, when you arrive at that, we were all looking for that I, ahankar, mithya I, which in that wedding it went, was trying to eat lot of things, all the goodies that were kept and didn't want to be caught. But when suddenly two people started pursuing, hey, who is this guest, uninvited guest who's come here? What happens? The ego runs away because it doesn't like inquiry. And you can never find the ego because it is false. We all go on complaining. My husband is very egoistic. I have no ego. Who is telling this? Ego. Your ego is trying to tell. The other is egoless, and I am egoless. The other one is egoistic. You are attached to this idea. Oh, really? Let me inquire into the ego. You keep inquiring into the ego, you will not find the ego, but you will find the real Atma. That you can't avoid because that is pulsating, it is divine, it is right there. The presence you cannot escape. That is the ultimate reality. And that shines on its own. It doesn't require. It is not even dependent on you to realize it for its existence. It is simply there. It doesn't care whether you have realized it or no. This is how God is. God cannot be dependent on us recognizing Him as God. Then what kind of a God is? But when we go walk the path and investigate and inquire into it, we come to this state. And that aham, consciousness, is self-evident. The sun does not require another light to be shown on it. This is the sun. Can you even think of doing that? When there is the sun, and you're looking at the sun, do you need to tell anyone that is the light? There's so much light from there itself, it is like that. So he says, this being devoid of any thought, and he says in the 26th verse, Atma Samskriti Swatma Darshanam Atma Nirdvayat Atmanishtha. Since the self is non-dual, the abidance in the self alone is the vision of self. And that alone is known as firm abidance in the self. Atma Samskriti, abidance in the self. Is Swatma which means what? This person who has recognized, realized, is simply abiding in that self. As we said, in that self, action arises on its own. And he doesn't do things out of duality. If I do that, I will get this. That will never be there. That idea itself doesn't occur. He gets up and does something because it needs to be done. A big difference here, isn't it? Why are we doing whatever we are doing? Seriously, if we look at this, and if we recognize, oh, I'm doing this because of this, because of the end I want this, in the end I want it, the lesser and lesser of such activity in the involvement, there is already great peace within us. And actually, we are contributing to world peace. If 50% of the people who are doing whatever they are doing simply stop doing for one day, there will be a lot of each one ignorantly is going on acting to benefit their own egoistic. And we all talk of how bad these politicians are. We are miniature politicians. In our own field of activity, we are doing exactly what given for the politician, the field of activity is much larger. That's all. We are handling family members of four, they are handling family members of 4,000 maybe. So their selfishness is also seen very broadly, openly. Our selfishness, चारी आदमी के बीच है तो it is not seen very easily. There is no point pointing out to the politician and crying, they are so mean. If you have known that they are being mean, this meanness is there within. Otherwise, how will you recognize it outside? Aren't we fighting our political battles with to gain relationship and control over our relationships with people. I'm in a relationship with my husband, I'm in a relationship with my wife, with my father, with my brother, with my sister. And how I try and control, how I show that I am more giving in that relationship. I don't want to let go of that control. Right? Wife is dominating, mother is always dominating, father is, I have to listen to him only. What to do? But I am being obedient son. I will somehow escape into all these qualities so that I'm able to bear. I cannot leave that relationship. See, I'm bound. Politics, game of politics we are playing. We are also politicians. Given that chance to rule that constituency, we will be exactly that politician whom we don't like. Inquiry into who I am only is the greatest revolutionary act. Not building so many United Nations countries. Even there, what is happening? The powerful ones get together. And the one with no power is fighting for a ticket to become permanent member. Huh? All flight of egos. Where can any revolutionary act come out of this? Groups of ahankaris coming together for world peace. How can it ever be? Only revolutionary act from the time humans were there is inquiry into. Are you a revolutionary? Then you are walking the spiritual. If you are walking the spiritual path, you are a true rebel. You are the revolution. You have a cause. You have the right cause. Other all causes are born out of ahankara. Remember. So the only true revolutionary act is finding, inquiry into the self and finding the self. Once you have recognized yourself, you are free. You are free from this transmigration, birth and death cycle. You are in sync with the universe. Absolutely. And you act in this firm abundance. He says this firm abundance. Bhagavan was there. And that is why you see, dealing with Ramana, they say is an advanced teacher. Why is he advanced? Because you see, right from our first verse, what is he speaking about? All of those methods he has discussed. And he says, what is all those methods put for? Be it karma, bhakti, dhyana, you're doing pranayama, yoga, you're doing every kind of practice is taking you towards purification of the mind only. It's not taking you towards release. But he says, I am prescribing this method. That is why many masters would say he is an advanced teacher. Why? All the initial primary, secondary graduations of Hogan, when all the graduates come and land, that is where he says, okay, now take a look at this. Where is the mind? Is there something? The mind, which is an individual, independent entity. And according to us, when we say this is true, it should be available, independent, isn't it? All the time it should be available. It cannot be changing because if it is changing, then we have to say the changes, what we all very beautifully say, what is it? Change is the only constant. How can we say that? Even that is so self-contradictory, isn't it? We don't understand. If for a change to happen, there has to be a constant before something happened, an event took place, And then, while the event is happening, that constant has to be constant. And after the change has happened, that constant has to be constant to recognize that this change has happened. So this constant has been before the event started. While the event changing was happening, it has to be constant and available. And after the whatever has changed, this constant is constant to notice that it was not like this before it came and then it was happened, then this transformation happened. वो पहला ऐसा नहीं था फिर कुछ चेंजेस हो गया उसमें और अभी वो पूरा चेंज हो गया मैं कांस्टेंट हूँ इधर अनचेंजिंग इसके लिए पता चला so even saying that constant is change is the only constant see ऐसे dialogues so this constant what is this constant one must come to recognize this and be. So that is where he led us to. He said there is no mind because when you inquire into the mind, it just vanishes. He says you have a thought, just follow. Where is that thought arising? And suddenly there is no thought. Where is it arising and where is it going? Focus on that, he says. Don't get caught up in the thoughts. Let the thought come. And let the thought think it is very important. Utter emergency, utter urgency. As long as it's a thought, it is just arisen and it is going to die. Be convinced of this. Don't engage in it. That is how he sat in meditation, Ramana Bhagavan. Continuously. Hey, the body is hungry. That is a thought, that is a not tending to the not self, he kept and then realized. When he realized, he simply convinced, okay, doesn't matter now. He himself got up, himself started eating when he was hungry. He was now in sync with nature. And he was just like that. Bliss, just walking, doing his thing. The people started following him. Then he said, why? I don't want this. They're troubling me. And he said, what am I running on? If they are there, let them be there. They're not there, they're not there. He just sat in one place. So was he not talking after that? Was he not? He took very good care. He was very sensitive about so many things. People started coming around him and ashram started growing. Food had to be prepared. He would take care that the right kind of food is prepared. Even today, I am told that herbs that is available in Tiruvannamala is added to that food because he knew which food had to be eaten when in which season. Why? He was in sync with nature. He didn't have to use his mind. He had not gone to college to learn about all these. Whatever is learned can be forgotten. Whatever is learned in the Jiva Srishti has to be updated. And it can be refuted, it can be totally negated after a period of time. And that's what we see happening in the world, isn't it? Leaders have come with their influential thoughts, have influenced thousands of people. They have taken them to wars and then totally discarded 40 years later, they have become villains. This keeps happening. The true revolutionary is the one who has come to seek this and recognize the truth about who he is. So you see, Atma Samstiti, Swatma Darshanam, Atma Nirdvayat, Atma Nishthatha. The self is non-dual and abidance in the self alone is the vision of the self. So one who is abiding in the self and working from there is the realized master. And this, he says, this jnana, non-dual. Non-dual, there is no question of anybody saying I am the knower, and this is the process of knowing, and this is the object of knowledge. All of them have died. It is spontaneous knowing, spontaneous awareness, spontaneous action. It doesn't come from the mind. The mind is used. In case this realized one has to travel, and so he needs to plan. So, when am I doing? If I travel by train, is it better or flight? Because there are these options in Srishti available. So he uses his mind. That's about it. There is no other thought coming of suffering or enjoying or anything like that. Spontaneous living. That is the mark of the realized means. So you see, we may never find, we may never be able to judge how this realized master lives. For us, that action, that thinking might also not conform to the way we think the master should be. But that is because they are living in a different realm. They are living in not in the mind at all. And they are not connected. They do connect because out of compassion they may want to help us and lead us on the path. That is why they connect through the mind. Otherwise, there is absolutely no need for them. So this self-inquiry, ahamapetakam neja vibhanakam mahavidam tapo brahmanavagiyam. Ramana says, this is the Mahat Tapa, great Tapa. What is that? Self-inquiry. Who am I? Inquire into that. Come to recognize this truth about who we are. This is like Bhagwan's blessings and all the Master's blessings. Let us come walk on this path earnestly. Let us not be distracted and wailing. Let the ego not come in the way. Let us recognize the self. And that is a blessing on its own. That will be the culmination of this human birth. So, with all the Master's blessings, Guru's blessings, and Ramana's blessings, we have attempted to understand the verses as composed by Bhagavan Ramana himself. With his grace and blessings, let us come to see the light of his words completely. And may we all attain that fulfillment here and now in this. So it was enjoyable doing this verse all the time. It is enjoyable to revisit these verses, keep reading the verses, take up any one verse for contemplation, for reflection. Keep thinking on these lines all the time. Do not deviate into anything. We all have our duties, we have our responsibilities. As much as possible, complete those, but only for that time that is required. Do not waste thinking too much about it. Do what needs to be done and go back. Let the mind be taken to these verses because these verses will be a doorway to that field. We shall conclude this class here. पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति 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 हरि ओम हरि ओम
Shanti.